Say that. Very good. Oh, some of you came prepared. I like that. Those sounds, again, that ba sound doesn't exist. What I'm doing, I have my teeth apart about that much, and I'm pressing my lips firmly together. Ba, 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 bi. And it's a natural sound. When you're a child and you're first learning, and this thing starts to close here, what's it called? Some kind of a cap, a skull cap? What is it called? Who's a nurse in here? Who's the nurse in here?
Soft spot.
No. Anyways, over here on your head there was a soft spot there, and it began to close before you, and when it started closing, each and every one of us did this. We went, ahu, 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 and as it continued to close and we continued to evolve as a human, it was closing the other. We began to develop language, and the next sound we made was this, a ba 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 ba. And each of you, some of you that have children probably understand that. And it continued to close, and then we began to show off a little bit our language skills, and we went, ta 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 ta. It's that same sound. And ka 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 ka. It's those same sounds, and as it closed, we developed those language patterns. So again, going back to the heuristic methodology. So there are. So Amiskwaciy waskahekan. Amiskwaciy waskahekan. That's what that says. You can, if you want right now, you can go grab your Banic. I'm going to take a few minutes here. There's Banic and coffee there. I think it's Tim Hortons because I saw Tim Hortons cups. Oh, there's tea. Berry tea. So those of you that want to have some tea, and there's Banic. Banic is a Scottish word. It is not a Nahio word. Some people say Banic.
English, next month we're going to have our third session, and we're going to have Cody, who's going to be lecturing on her talent as a cinematography, and she's going to also tell us what we're going to be using these series. They're all going to be filmed, so that I think that we are going to be sharing all of this kind of information that is now being filmed with the public. So we're not going to waste our time. We want to educate our history to the public. Next month we have Cody as our, and then our grand opening for our series. We're having a grand opening. We hope to have that at City Hall or at the main theater. you when and where. I would hope to have a lecture on treaty number 6. You know that the general public does not know anything about the meaning of the treaties. They are very relevant today. And a lot of us Aboriginals get very irate because the ordinary Canadians don't live up to the treaties that they signed with us, the Aboriginal people. And we are going to be talking about treaty number 6 at that time, hopefully.
The name of next month is, well, the date is August 19th from 6:30 to 8:30. It'll be here again. And it's called Naming of Edmonton Communities from the Past to the Present. That'll be by Cody. And also, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, and we have an email account. So if you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to access those. And just to remind everybody that this is a grassroots initiative, so we are trying our best to get that information out there and feel it's important to understand the history and the history is from our perspective.
We're late. It took us an hour to get from downtown to there.
No way, me too. So I thought I was going to be late. God, I was just so panicked. And it's a good thing. So there are a lot of, please, if you need to get up, get up. Here I'm using Roman orthography to describe. When you see the letter C, it makes the what they call a fricative. I like that t sound. For instance, if I were to say wait, I would say tesqua, wait. So whenever you see the C sound there, and then there is a rule for the W, it always goes to the right side of the syllabic, just as I have here. But and now, let's see. Amiskwaciy, you can see the dot to the right there, or the minor spirit marker. The W, it always goes to the right, but the W sound is made before the syllabics vowel. For instance, here it's the ga. If you look over here, ga, the syllabics vowel is ah, so this one would go. There's the W there before this syllabics vowel, Miigwen. So there's a few rules, and they're very simple rules. Prior to contact, our system was primarily matrilineal at the least, most likely matriarchal. So the women were the ones that determined our way of living. They were also the ones that knew about they were the ones that knew about our lineage. They always knew who the father of their children were, and they had societies, what we call okichito iskwewak, means my own interpretation, sacred knowledge keepers. So they were the ones that, and those societies are coming back now, but of course with the advent of contact and having been affected by a patriarchal system, one of the first writings, for those of you university graduates here, you probably understand those first writings. One of the first contacts that they had in the Hudson's Bay area was with the Jesuits who told the no, those were the French. I think it was the Catholics that told the locals, the men there, beat your women if they don't listen. And these were the women who were our political and community leaders. So it was a system again that was diametrically opposed and came into contact, and a lot of our roles changed. And one of the things that we had as far as polity was the schematic hierarchy. We had a person we called Miteo. Miteo is an undisputed leader, kind of like a king or a president, prime minister of Canada, or the president of the United States, or the king of England. I don't know if they're a king. Who's got a king these days? What's that nice country where there's all kinds of heat and sand there? King of Dubai, I think it's called. I don't know my geography very well, but that's what we had. Our system, there was the Miteo, and the Miteo was groomed to be in that position. But in different circumstances, this Miteo would yield his power to others. And then there were the blanket people, and then there were the very respected elders, and then there were ceremony people. With contact and the colonization of this land, the roles of the Miteo were eradicated, obliterated, and so were the roles of the blanket people. There are stories about them these days, but their function is they're no longer functional. What you see nowadays in the community are elders and ceremony people as far as our system is concerned. Like I said, there's no blanket people nowadays. Unless you go down into a place called Rocky Boy, Montana, you'll find them there. A Miteo, those ones there, pretty well gone. Because once, as you all know, in order to conquer a people and take the land from the people, there's certain things that you need to do. The first thing you do when you're conquering people is you take away their God. The second thing you do is you disrupt their society. The other thing that you do is you eliminate the food source. So the buffalo here were eliminated, our societies were disrupted and done away with, and we were told that we didn't have a God. So we were introduced to that God I was talking to you about, the one who booted out those two people from paradise. So we were introduced to that God under, as a Big Bear would say, we negotiated with a rope around our neck. And sometimes we were given these decrees at the end of the barrel of a gun. So it was very difficult for our ancestors to do anything but surrender. I remember in 1971, my father talking about the system here. He said, Kispinega gi masna ke kui hunoa aho ke mosuminok kamestico no muniao. If our grandfathers hadn't put their mark on that paper, genocide would have been completed by the white man. So treaty saved us in that fashion. And when they made treaties, they, again, going back to the heuristic methodology, they made treaties, they said, let these promises be here and until that time, as long as the sun shines, the rivers flow, the green grass grows, and the four winds blow. A lot of people forget about the four winds blowing because I guess it doesn't fit in that pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you add in that the four winds blow, it's a little too much on the stanza. But those were what those ancestors agreed to. As long as the sun shines, the rivers flow, the green grass grows, and the four winds blow. So we surrendered as this much of the topsoil, and any other resources would be kept in perpetuity. The benefits of those resources would be kept for the sake of Turtle Islanders. So anything under there, any other resource, the only thing that we would allow for under treaties was that much of topsoil. So a lot of things changed. Before conquest, there was right now, if you go out there today, you'll see Saskatoon berries. It's ripe. They're ripe for picking right now. If you go in a couple of weeks, they'll be dry and dropping. So the ancestors would have made sure that they were at the berry patch 2 weeks, I'm told, Nisui spike, prior to the actual event. They would have been there. In a couple of months' time, we call that moon Onuchituipisim, the mating moon in September. It's around the time of the autumnal equinox. On the south side over here at Strathcona Science Park is one of the places where they had a buffalo jump. That's where they would harvest the buffalo. And they would need to be there at least 2 weeks because of the migratory patterns. So they'd run them off there. There was different ways, of course, to harvest the buffalo. One of the ways was to chase them into a lake. And east of here, there's a lake called Cucumber Lake. That's another place. Because over there, that lake is real. I was in there one time. I went up to here, and I thought, holy cow! Like I'm used to all these lakes with beaches, you know, and it's solid. And I went in there. I just sunk into mud up to here. So that was used to harvest the buffalo. Another way was to make a pound, which is where one of the people that got his name, Pound Maker. They would line up trees and make a circle, kind of like a light bulb, and chase the buffalo in there and harvest them that way. If you missed the migratory pattern of the buffalo, you would starve that winter. If you missed making your way to the berry patch, you wouldn't get those essential minerals, those elements from the berries, antioxidants, I think they're called. So there's lots of things that you needed to be there before the event itself occurred. About a month ago, there's what we call Amiskwaciy, Labrador tea. If you Google it, you'll see that plant. Anyways, it flowers only for two weeks out of the year, and it has certain minerals. One of the elements that it has is a poison, strychnine. But yet we need that to balance our our body, parts of it, just like we need zinc and gold in our body, antioxidants, I like that word. So there, if you didn't, we were there about a month ago, we just getting the end of it. Some of that, the flowers were already turning brown. It was quite embarrassing actually. I shouldn't be smiling. And we got there just at the end of the picking, but we did get there. So we got some for our larder for this winter. But if you didn't get there before the event, at least 2 weeks, you would miss out on all these things that were a fundamental necessity for the well-being of the body. Fast forward a little while to being put on reservations, and then there were leaders that were made, what they called chiefs, that were made, and they had to go and barter for things from the government people, and whenever they go, they get there frantically, because there was always barriers and obstacles towards going to these meetings. And going into the 20th century, it became a joke. Whenever Turtle Islanders would be late, they'd say, "Oh, they're on Indian time." And it became a running joke. But if you take that even in its most disrespectful lexicon into reality, Indian time was actually, you had to be there a long time before the actual event in order to benefit from whatever the gifts that we received from the earth. But because of all these barriers that were always put in place for the people that are living on a reservation, like they always had to find money for gas in the 1960s and 70s, then that became a joke, and a racist joke, but nonetheless a joke. And so there are a lot of things that, again, misunderstandings as far as the experiences of Turtle Island is concerned. One of the misunderstandings is that we were, as far as the written word is concerned, only focused on oral history. If we go here to when this was discovered, we've had a written history for at least 10,000 years. So to make that claim that we've only ever had an oral history is really erroneous. And science can prove that it's wrong, that statement that we've only ever had an oral history. We've had a written history. There are 44 symbols here, letters, syllabics. I call them spirit markers. I'm going to use, okay, who's a quick study here? What does this say? Real loud, say it loud and proud. Ah.
Alive.
Attack. Now I'm going to use the diminutive. So these are, I'll get to this. What does this one say? Remember I told you the C sound makes the T sound? It's a fricative. Yes, attack. Attack. So, attack. So we call these ones oops. Atakipe kana spirit markers. Atak means spirit. Atakipe kana pe kan is marker. Atakipe kana spirit markers. Those celestial bodies in the nighttime sky, we call them Atsakwak. There's that, or Atakwak. Our own spirit, we call it this again, we call it that. That's our own spirit, or this. I hear people say, Nitatsak. There's that morpheme again, Atsak. So we understand that that zepto, I don't think there's a zepto, it's octo actually. I like to overdo it. It's an octosecond before a creator of the universe made this possible, this life. We were conceived and we were all born out of these Atakwak. There's 30,000 words left in our language right now that are used, that are known to be used by people. Somebody called me an expert at the language. I speak probably, if I want to flatter myself, I'm almost at a junior high level speaker. I'm not a fluent speaker. I'm almost junior high level. I'm not an expert speaker. But because I've retained the articulation needed to speak the language, it sounds like I speak way up here. I don't. So there are 30,000 words, and that is dwindling. Another thing that's happening these days is that we're losing a syllable every generation. For instance, if I were to ask you this, I want to use all the colors before I leave here. Somebody read this. Somebody who might have taken the course before. Can't eat this stuff. Nick, the answer is right there. Nobody gets away here when I'm presenting, not even the elders. How did you say it? Pretty close. Tanesikia. Tanesikia. Kia is you. There's nia, kia, uya. So I'm talking to each one of you individually. This is me, nia. And then there's you, kia, you. Just one person. And then there's this one over here, this little gaffer in a green. Uya. Nia, kia, uya. Kia is you. Tanese, you remember what that means? No. How? Tanesikia, how are you? Okay, that's what that says. How are you? Now, going back to that, recently this was eliminated. Now it began to be understood This actually just means how. But it began to be understood as how are you? But actually all it means is how. Tanise, how? Tanisuma, how is this? Tanise. Lately, again, getting back to that losing a syllable per generation, this is what you see. What does this say? Tanse, tanse. So it went from tanese to tanse. It went from tanesikia, tanesikia ed. Then through the generation, another generation, tanesikia. Today, a generation before us, tanese. And then today it's tanse. Tanse. So we're losing a syllable per generation. Not only are we losing some of the use of some of these 30,000 words, but we're also losing a syllable per generation. So our language needs a lot of help. Kapag skinihio na. Kapag skinihio mo institute, so I can't talk about that. Yes.
Yeah, I worked with the elders in the 70s in the cultural policy sensitivity. And the elders, we gathered them together, and they would speak to one another in like it was described as I Cree.
Kapag skinihio na. Ako ito gawin ni stak nga kasi tangan sa tu tasya mo kusam mo pagkas kinayo mo gakyo man sa tokto na ako ni ko pero nito gawista. So what I was saying is those people that speak, and those are the ones that speak what Ed was talking about, High Cree. Primarily you'll find those ones are the ceremony people. Again, going back to that schematic hierarchy and what we have left. We do have Ukichihtoiskuak, and they're starting to make to make themselves show of themselves nowadays. Although it's not, again, one of our laws is tapahte misuan, humility. So you don't go out in public and describe yourself as a sacred knowledge keeper if you're a woman. I'm a sacred knowledge keeper. I'm an elder. I'm a very respected elder. It doesn't fall in line with. I don't know where tapahte misuan is right here. It doesn't fall in line with that, with our laws. Our law of tapahte misuan, our law of humility. So there are 44 laws that go with these 44 spirit markers. I would suggest that perhaps you go and do some research. If you're from the city of Edmonton, if there are no questions, I'm going to go home.